So Satou Sabally has officially said that she is gone. She is not coming back to the Dallas Wings, which I thought was interesting because I did think that with Satou, with her, Paige Becker's likely going to go to the Wings. With Satou, with Erika.
Things are getting wild in Dallas, and Satou Sabally just dropped a bombshell that's shaking up the entire WNBA. While everyone was focused on Caitlin Clark's draft predictions, Sabally quietly announced she's done with the Wings, but here's what makes this really interesting. The Indiana Fever might have a shot at landing her, and the implications could change everything.
Going to go to the Wings with Satou, with Erika Egumbawale. They could have been a really good team, but obviously with the fact that with the season pretty much still going on,
the WNBA landscape just got a major shakeup, and it all centers around Satou Sabally's decision to leave Dallas. Let's dive deep into what's really happening here, because there is a lot more to this story than just a player wanting to switch teams.
Dallas Wings. So obviously Satou said that with Unrivaled. As you guys can see here, WNBA free agent Satou Sabally declares time with the Wings is done. Look, the Wings aren't going to give her up for nothing.
First, we need to understand what the Wings are potentially giving up. Sabally isn't just any player. She's a versatile 6 feet 4 inches in forward who can defend multiple positions, create her own shot, and stretch the floor. We're talking about someone who averaged 6 points, 8, 1 rebounds, and 4 assists per game last season. Those aren't just good numbers, they are all WNBA numbers. But here's where things get interesting. The timing of this announcement is fascinating. The Wings are potentially getting Caitlin Clark in the draft. They've already got Ogunbowale, who's one of the most dynamic scorers in the league, and they could have had one of the most potent offenses in WNBA history. So why would Sabally want out now?
So Satou Sabally is obviously a player for the Dallas Wings who's not going to be a player for the Dallas Wings for much longer. Like, we all know that. We all know she's gone. She said as much that her and Dallas are trying to get her get her off the team and
get her off the team, and they are trying to get her. The answer might lie in what's happening behind the scenes in Dallas. Looking at recent history, there's been a pattern of star players wanting out. Remember when Skylar Dean Smith left? That situ had some striking similarities. When multiple stars leave an organization, it's rarely just about basketball. What makes the situation even more complex is a core player designation for those who might not be familiar. Being said in the WNBA is similar to being franchise tagged in the NFL. It gives the team significant control over where a player can go. Dallas can course solely and effectively control her destiny until 2027. That's significant leverage. This brings us to an important point about the current state of the Wings. They are not just losing a star player, they are losing someone who could have been the perfect complement to their potential future star in Caitlin Clark. Imagine a pick-and-pop game with Clark and Sabally, or the spacing they could have created for Owen Bell. That's the kind of offensive potential they are losing. But there's another layer to this story that needs to be addressed: market size and off-court opportunities. Dallas is a major market, but it's not New York or Los Angeles. When it comes to WNBA presence, Sabally has shown she's marketable with significant international appeal due to her German national team connection. This factor can't be ignored when considering her potential destinations. The Wings now find themselves in a tricky position. They can't just let Sabally walk away for nothing. That would be organizational malpractice, but they also can't hold her hostage indefinitely. The WNBA is a player-driven league, and forcing a star to stay against there will rarely ends well for either party. The situation is also happening at a crucial time for the league. The WNBA is experiencing unprecedented growth with more eyes on the product than ever before. How the Wings handle this could set precedents for future star player movements. Do they prioritize getting the best return possible, or do they work with Sabally to find a mutually beneficial solution? There's also the chemistry factor to consider. The Wings have built something special with their young core. Losing Sabally doesn't just impact their on-court product, it changes the entire dynamic of the team. They are not just losing 18 points per game, they are losing someone who made everyone around her better. The emergence of certain teams as potential destinations also tells us something about the changing landscape of the WNBA. The Indiana Fever, traditionally not a prime free agent destination, are now being mentioned as a serious contender. This speaks to both the league's growth and the changing priorities of its stars. The financial implications can't be ignored either. The WNBA's salary cap makes these moves particularly complex. Teams need to get creative with their packages, often involving multiple players and picks to make The numbers work. This isn't just about finding the best basketball fit, it's about making the financials align as well. Looking at the potential return, the Wings need to thread a needle. They need enough value to justify trading a star in her prime, but they also need pieces that fit with their existing core and potential future additions. This isn't just about getting the best players available, it's about finding the right players for their situation. What makes this situation particularly fascinating is how it might impact the upcoming draft. If the Wings do get Caitlin Clark, they'll need to surround her with the right pieces. Losing Sabally means they'll need to find another versatile forward who can space the floor and create their own shot. That's not an easy skill set to replace. Let's take a deep dive into where Satou Sabally might end up, because this situation is more complex than just picking a favorite destination. We're looking at multiple teams, various trade packages, and league-wide implications that could reshape the WNBA landscape.
Which I don't think the Sparks are going to do. She could go to LA, but Satou is someone who will be going to a big market. And I'm also going to be talking a little bit in the video later on today, or maybe even tomorrow, is it Satou or bust for Indiana? I don't quite think it is. I know a lot of people do think it is Satou or bust. I don't. But anyway, yeah, so the only chance the Fever have of getting Satou Sabally is by massively overpaying.
The New York Liberty are emerging as the front runners, and there are compelling reasons why. First, there's a family connection. Her sister Niara is already there. Then you've got the German national team connection with Leo Fiek, which shouldn't be underestimated. Playing with your national team teammate in the WNBA, that's a significant draw. The Liberty can offer the 7th pick in the upcoming draft, which is interesting timing considering the deep talent pool this year. But here's what makes the Liberty situation fascinating. They're already loaded. We're talking about a team with Brianna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, and J.N. Jones. Adding Sabally would give them arguably the most talented roster in WNBA history. But the Liberty's trade package is where things get complicated. That 7th pick alone isn't enough for a player of Solly's caliber. They could include Maureen Johannes, who's been impressive overseas, but there's no guarantee she'd want to play in Dallas. The Liberty would likely need to get creative, possibly involving a third team to make the package attractive enough. The salary cap situation in New York is another factor that can't be ignored. They're already paying max contracts to multiple stars. Adding Sabally would require some serious financial gymnastics. The Liberty would need to move some pieces around to make the money work while maintaining enough depth to compete. Now let's talk about the Indiana Fever, because this is where things get really interesting. The Fever have the 8th pick, which on its own isn't as valuable as New York's 7th, but they've got something the Liberty don't: young established talent they can include in a trade package. And Alyssa Smith is a key piece here. She's a former 2nd overall pick who's shown flashes of brilliance. Including her in a package with the 8th pick and potentially Grace Burgo could be more appealing to Dallas than what New York can offer. The Fever also have more financial flexibility, which means they could take on additional salary in a trade if needed. The Fever situation is particularly intriguing because they're on the verge of something special. They've got Aaliyah Boston, who's already looking like a franchise cornerstone. They are likely getting Caitlin Clark in the upcoming draft. Adding Sabally to that mix, now you're talking about a potential dynasty in the making. Let's break down what a potential Fever lineup could look like. With Sabally, you've got Clark running the point, Kelsey Mitchell at shooting guard, Sabally at small forward, and Boston anchoring the paint. That's a core that could compete for championships for the next decade. The Chicago Sky are the dark horse in this race, but they shouldn't be overlooked. They've got the 3rd pick in the draft, which might be the best single asset any team can offer. If someone like Kiki Rice or Olivia Miles is available at 3, that could be too tempting for Dallas to pass up. The Sky rebuild situation is interesting because while they are not as ready to compete as New York or Indiana, they could fast-track their process with Sabally. They've got the cap space to absorb her max contract, and adding a star of her caliber could help attract other free agents in future seasons. Here's where Dallas's leverage comes into play. They don't have to send Sabally where she wants to go. They can take the best offer period. If Chicago offers that 3rd pick and Dallas sees someone they love in that draft slot, they might force Solly's hand. The core designation gives them that power. The financial implications of where Sabally lands can't be understated. She's going to command a max contract, and rightfully so. Her production last season: 6 points, 1 rebounds, 4 assists justifies that kind of payment, but not every team is equally equipped to handle that salary commitment. The market size factor is fascinating here. New York offers the biggest platform, no question, but Indiana's situation might be more appealing from a basketball perspective, and Chicago offers a chance to be the face of a franchise in a major market. Each situation has its unique appeal. Looking at fit, you could make a strong argument that Indiana offers the best basketball situation. Sabally would be the perfect complement to Boston's interior presence. She could space the floor, create her own shot, and defend multiple positions, with Clark potentially running the point and Mitchell providing additional scoring. That's a lineup that could give opposing coaches nightmares. A Liberty situation would be different. While they'd be adding another superstar, they might have to sacrifice some of their depth to make it work. That 7th pick could be valuable in adding young talent on a rookie contract. They'd have to weigh whether adding Sabally is worth potentially weakening their bench. Chicago's rebuild could get accelerated significantly if they land Sabally. They've got flexibility with their roster cap space to work with, and that valuable 3rd pick. The question is whether Sabally would want to be part of a rebuild, even if it's potentially a quick one. The league-wide implications of this move are significant if Sabally ends up with the Liberty. We're looking at potentially the most talented team in WNBA history. That could be great for ratings and attention, but it might raise questions about competitive balance. The Fever scenario might be better for the league overall. It would create another legitimate contender, especially if they do get Clark in the draft. The WNBA benefits from having multiple strong markets and competitive teams, and Indiana emerging as a powerhouse would help with that. What makes this situation particularly fascinating is how it demonstrates the evolving dynamics of the WNBA. Players have more power than ever to influence where they play, but teams still have mechanisms like the core designation to maintain some control. How this plays out could set precedents for future star movements. The timing of Sabally's announcement is also strategic. By making her intentions clear before the draft, she's given Dallas time to work potential draft picks into trade packages. It also gives teams time to plan their free agency strategies around potentially acquiring her. The development of the WNBA as a whole could be influenced by how the situ citation resolves. If Sabally successfully navigates her way to her preferred destination, it could empower other players to take similar approaches. If Dallas stands firm and sends her to whoever offers the best package, it could reinforce team control. In these situations, the reality is that Sabally is going to change whatever team she joins. She's a unique talent, a 6'4" inches forward who can handle the ball, shoot threes, and defend multiple positions. Players with her skill set are rare, and that's why teams are willing to give up so much to get her. As we look toward the resolution of the situation, it's clear that the implications will extend far beyond just where Sabally plays next season. This could be a defining moment in how WNBA player movement works, how teams approach trading stars, and how the balance of power shifts in the league. There you have it. Satou Sabally's next move could reshape the entire WNBA landscape, whether she lands with the Fever or elsewhere. This story is far from over. Drop your predictions in the comments below, and if you want to stay updated on all the latest WNBA moves, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. See you in the next video.